Yes, the rumors are true. The ESA is coming back to the convention scene, but not with E3. That's still very much dead. It's Sunday, so let's get sensational. I'm Mike, and I'm back to talk about the gaming news. And one show that used to generate a bunch of news every year was E3, but as organizer, the ESA officially discontinued it at the end of 2023 after they failed to come back post-pandemic. Basically, they failed to get a show together, but it looks like the ESA may be coming back with a new event. Just not what people were probably hoping for. So the ESA has announced a new event called iicon with two eyes because it's the Interactive Innovation Conference, and the ESA describes it as, quote, it's an event to connect visionaries, thought leaders, and innovators from across industries to harness the power of interactive entertainment. So basically, it's going to be an event for companies to get together and connect, and not an event with a bunch of game announcements or demos like E3 was. But unlike the dying days of E3, there are several companies that have already said that they're going to attend the event, like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Amazon Games, Disney, EA, Square Enix, Take-Two, Ubisoft, and Warner Brothers Games. So at least this sounds more promising for them than the last E3 they were planning. Also, Summer Games Fest and the Game Awards have pretty much taken the place of E3 from a consumer standpoint, at least when it comes to announcement, but it was missing the aspect of the companies getting together and having discussions behind closed doors, so that's what the ESA is targeting for this new event. Their first iicon event takes place in April of 2026 and is going to be from April 27th to the 30th. From a consumer standpoint, I don't expect that there'll be much news from it. It doesn't sound like it's a press or public event unless you decide to cosplay as Seth Rollins as a visionary and a revolutionary. But either way, it's still good for the industry to have these kinds of events where companies can get together and have closed door discussions. And one of the things they may want to discuss is how they are updating their early access games. So it's pretty common for smaller games especially to launch in early access, or even multiplayer games that developers want to test before the full launch. This is really common on PC, and of course the most popular store on PC is Steam, so it has a ton of early access games. The issue is some of the games launch in early access and then they're kind of abandoned without people really knowing it. Well, Valve is looking to help remedy that situation. So Valve has added a notice on Steam for early access games that haven't been updated in over a year. The example used in the GameSpot article is the game Atlas, which hasn't been updated in quite some time. It now has the following message on its Steam page. Note, the last update made by the developers was over 20 months ago. The information and timeline described by the developers here may no longer be up to date. This change makes sense because it's going to be hard for them to manage all the early access games that are on Steam, and they probably have a lot of situations with people requesting refunds because they paid for an early access game and it basically has been abandoned. So if you're out there with an early access game on Steam, you better make sure it's updated, at least within the last 12 months. But launching a game purposely in early access is one thing, but what if you accidentally release information about a game a little bit too early? Well, the PlayStation Store is back at it again with accidentally releasing game information a little bit too early. So the PlayStation Store briefly released a trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, aka the Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, before it was pulled down, of course. The trailer featured the release date of August 28, 2025, which hadn't been announced. We've seen this happen a few times on the PlayStation Store, including them accidentally putting up the information for Lego Horizon a little bit too early. So you know if Sony has leaked their own games by accident on the PlayStation Store, the Solid Snake couldn't even hide or sneak his way out of this one. Either way, there still hasn't been any official comment from Konami on this, obviously because it was a mistake. But we'll see what happens when the trailer and the release date are officially released. And speaking of official announcements, the Switch 2 was officially announced last month, but we're still waiting on the Nintendo Direct for more information about the console. But Nintendo still has been out there talking about it, so now I'm going to talk about it today in our final story. Now, I know I said I was done talking about the Switch 2 unless something major happens, but there were several small stories this week that I felt like are important to talk about, like the actual date and time of the Nintendo Direct for the Switch 2. So Nintendo has finally given the official date for the Switch 2 Direct, which will be on April 2nd, and the time, which is 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I kind of forgot that they didn't even set an exact date when they did the launch trailer last month, but yeah, now we know the exact date and time of the Direct, and hopefully we'll get more information like the price, and that's probably going to be the biggest thing aside from the games they launch with, and Nintendo knows that, which is why they addressed it with their investors recently. So Nintendo's president addressed their stance on the Switch 2 price during an investor call, and basically he said that they're aware that inflation is rising and the exchange rate has changed since 2017 when they released the Switch 1, and they're aware that their customers expect affordable prices. So obviously they're not going to reveal the price yet even to their investors, but from what I'm gathering, yes, it's going to be more expensive than the current Switch, but they feel like the price can't be too high. The last time we talked about the Switch 2, we were talking about the price, and most analysts were predicting that it would land around $400, but it could be as high as $500 depending on market conditions. But if Nintendo is considering that their customers are expecting a lower price, it wouldn't make sense to launch at the same price as a PS5 or a Series X. But we'll see what happens when it comes out, if you can get your hands on one. Well, according to Nintendo, they're looking into different measures to make sure that the Switch 2 meets demand and doesn't get scalped. Now, the only concrete thing that they said that they were doing is that they're going to make a bunch of consoles to meet demand, but they didn't specify what else they would be doing to stop scalpers. We have seen them release things exclusively through Switch Online first and then release it to the public later, like they did with Alarmo. So they could do something like that and make it so that you need to be subscribed to Switch Online and have an account with a certain amount of playtime to be able to order a Switch 2, but that would limit the initial release to their existing customers, which could hurt their business overall. That would make sense for smaller items like the alarm clock or the N64 controller they did for Switch, but for a new system where they need to cast a wide net, it wouldn't make as much sense to do that. But either way, I'm wondering what, if anything, they'll come up with other than just making a bunch of consoles to combat scalping. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Nintendo will actually have enough systems available at launch, or do you think that it'll be hard to get and it'll get scalped online like the Switch did? Again, let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification button to be notified when I drop a video or a live stream. I always do at least 2 things at the same time. We out!